Fire Radio.
All the good stuff starts before we hit record, and I'm so tired of then saying, like, stop talking, hit record, let's go. Bro, we were just talking about how good the fire service is.
It's amazing. I've been in the business. We were just talking 33 years, and I still love it. Still have a passion for it. You know, our mission is solid. The people we work with are amazing. You know, the people we help are amazing. You know, it's just I couldn't even imagine a more gratifying career path, right? In the service, both career and volunteer, man. That desire to serve your community is just spot on, man. And I still got a lot of running to do. This is great.
We lose track of that, though. A lot of people do throughout their career, whether volunteer career, right? When I talk about the job, it's the job. Job. Fire doesn't care. Fire will kill you whether you get a paycheck or not. So when I talk about the job, it's just firefighting. But a lot of people become disillusioned with that. I think we're setting some of our people up for not allowing them to have success because we've sugar-coated what this job actually entails and what it really looks like.
Correct.
And we're not going to fires every day. And in fact, we're more of a service-oriented department where we're doing a lot more service calls and medical calls and nuisance calls than we are actually the glorified firefighting portion of it. And we don't talk about that often when we're doing our recruitment.
You know, we don't. And I got to tell you, we run, just like most organizations, we do medical, and we probably run 80+% on the medical side.
Of course.
Right? And as our community risk reductions is getting a stronghold in most communities, fires have decreased, right? But the intensity of the environment in which we're responding to has increased without our control because of what's burning now. We both know that. But, you know, I'll tell you, we're like fighter pilots. I always say that, man. Fighter pilots are meant to want to fight, right? That's what they're training for. And that, you know, when we talk about firefighters, that's what we train for and that's what we live for. But, you know, all the other things in life that we miss, not only just on the job, but in life, because we're moving too fast or we're expecting something different to happen, we miss some really great opportunities, man, to enjoy what we do and how we're doing it. And the people we work with, you know?
Yeah, well, I think that's, you know, that piece of it's important, right? And I think most firehouses, most departments do that very well. I think there's some places where it just doesn't work. And I think what I'm getting at is the only way you speak like you are in the position that you're in is because you're all in on your people. You're all in on the mission. Like, if you work with great people, it's because you see the greatness in them. We need to do that. We need to have that focus. We need to make sure that a big part of our day is dialing in on our people. That's what matters, right?
Hey, man, the most valuable resource you're ever going to have are your people, right? And sometimes we get so entrenched in a certain path and we forget and we create collateral damage along our career paths because we forgot about the people. We forgot about our peers. We forgot about the people we're mentoring, right? We forgot the people that mentored us, right? It's about giving back to the service because giving back to the service only makes it stronger. And I'm telling you, man, I have a passion for this. I have a passion for the fire service, and it's because of all the great things we're capable of doing and coming together and doing, and the excitement of when we get on a call and we hadn't been trained for this event, but we figure it out.
Yeah,
and
right.
Succeed.
Resourcefulness,
right?
yeah.
Oh
right.
man, it's just awesome.
I think to go all in on your people, right? Creating a culture where our people matter takes a tremendous amount of work. And I think that a lot of times we say our people are our most valued asset. Are we showing them that? And I that is where there's a huge disconnect, right? And I think maybe with this conversation, it's how do we find balance, Chief? Where do we find that balance between what the administration and command staff can do for you, but what you can do for them, and finding that balance? Because I sometimes find there's a tremendous unbalance in the system, and it becomes a lot of us versus them. It becomes a lot about, you say your people are your most important resource, yet you certainly don't show it.
So, that's interesting you say that, because we sometimes get entrenched with a selfless approach at things, right?
100%.
What's in it for us?
That's
How can
it.
we expand our career path, right? Next promotion, what does it look like? When we got into the business to be selfless, right? That is the part that people forget, and we promote managers sometimes, and we don't necessarily build a leader within them. And so I love teaching leadership class. I love talking about leadership, and I always ask the question, what do you think is the most important part of leadership? And I get trust, credibility, and all of those things are huge, right? All of those things are so important.
Right.
But I call it the give a crap factor, right? You got to care for your people, and it can't just be in words. It's got to be through actions, and you got to hold yourself accountable. I'll tell you, I tell my people all the time, listen, man, if I drop the ball on something, you don't have to schedule a time with me. You just walk right through my door right there, man. And you say, EV, you dropped the ball, dude. And I'll go, sorry, man, I own it. Because every day plates fall off. And the ones that break and you hear that are really loud, you're like, oh, we got to get back on that one. But some will fall off your plate because the prioritization and the mission and all the things we're trying to accomplish in our business, they get moved to the side and reprioritized. But none of that is with intent. None of that is with intent.
How do we in the fire service today, where we're having people coming in, different generational values, they come from different backgrounds, different ways of understanding and learning, and so on, and we have to bridge that gap, that program that I talk about all the time, bridging the gap, how we find the generational values and the common ground. How do we bring them in and educate them that it's not about you? See, the problem is that the fire service was never about the individual, but it's become more about the individual than ever before. And so that cliche thing, mission over me, the back of your coat, fire department name, your name, like that whole thing, I hate that, but I talk about that because we have to understand that the mission does truly matter, and it's not really about yourself. You are a humble servant when operating as a firefighter. You have to understand that. But a lot of times, and I think a big part of the disconnect today, is we're focusing on ourselves and not the mission.
Well, I'll tell you, I think it was Florida that came out with this mandatory piece for high school students to go through a financial class.
I love that. New Jersey, my kids are doing it now. Yeah, I love it.
Awesome.
I think it's smart.
I would like to take that one step further and say every student is going to be involved with a team function. Like get on a team sport, get in some form of a team, right? Because that's what the fire service is about. And the people that aren't team players are the ones that don't succeed in delivering that mission. I will tell you that my most fruitful wins is when we've done it as a team. We've worked together, because it's not about the win necessarily. It's about how we got the win.
Hell yeah. It's the process, bro.
It's
the
all
process.
about the process.
If I never cross the finish line, but I'm enjoying the journey to get there, that's all that matters, right? I think when you always look for the reward, or you look to the, following the rainbow and finding the pot of gold, you're still not going to be content and happy when you get to the finish, because it was all about the process.
But
it's not about the finish line.
We're wired that way, though.
That's right.
From just being young. And I'll give you this example because it took me a little while to learn this. I have two beautiful daughters and a beautiful wife. And I was all about, when we're leaving on a trip, we leave at this time, and we're going to beat our time by 5-10 minutes, right? Every time.
We're not stopping. No bathroom breaks.
And it got to the point where, like, it took them a while to get ready.
Yeah.
So, and it took us a while to get there because we had to stop for restroom breaks, whatever. And so I finally got to this realization. It was like an epiphany. Hey, we leave when we leave, and we get there when we get there. It's about getting. It's all of that between the point A to point B.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people miss in life, and a lot of people miss this in the career, because a lot of people are shooting for the retirement. They get on, and it's what's at the end of the line, man. That's all I'm focusing on, and all of this, life's passing them by, and they're missing all of the coolness and the enjoyable part of being in the service, man. And it's camping with your best friends at the fire station, And even now I'm in administration. I got a team of amazing people. I walk out this door, we start laughing, and that creates a more productive environment. because I know I've got people I can trust and lean on, and if they need me, they can lean on me. That's what this is about, and we've just got to be able to play on a team.
An environment like that promotes the very best, right? And so when you're in a good place and you understand that the process matters and experience matters and the people around you are part of that, that is where you come up with some of your best ideas and policies or changes or tactical or strategies and so on. That's where your best stuff comes from, because it's built on a place of comfort. You're comfortable in making those decisions because the people around you support you in making those decisions, right?
100%, man.
Yeah.
And, we've got a really good, solid labor management process. And, we talk about labor management. In my mind, listen, we all came from the same place. When you grow in your career and you get into a position where you have authority, you can't forget where you came from. So if you have a personnel issue and it's a 1-year firefighter and it's a pretty low level deal, you got to think back and go, man, I clearly know that's wrong now. But when I was a year on the job, did I need a good leader to be by me to say, hey, man, don't do that? Right? There's got to be a little understanding in what that looks like.
Yeah, and I always talk about with maturity comes clarity. The job looks different to you in 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, 20, 25. The job changes consistently, and your outlook changes, and your attitude changes, and so on. And the more experience you get, sometimes I like to think with maturity comes clarity. Not always. I'm still making bad decisions. Don't get me wrong, right? But again,
we have things to learn still, man.
Eric, it's a process. That's right. We're still learning. I'm still learning. And, I was talking about this the other night. I was talking about the 3-year fireman. And, 3 years. And you always want to get further ahead in your career. And you like to think you're salty or better or you've done it, but you've only got a couple of years in. I said, guys, that's okay. We need 3-year firemen. Just like we need 5-year firemen, 10-year firemen, 25-year firemen. It's part of the process. There's no shortcuts. Let's not rush this. Enjoy the process. I was just talking to somebody on the podcast this morning, and he was telling me how he's been retired for a year now, and things are different. And I said, of course it is. It goes by at a blink of an eye, and it's like, now what? But you've had all that time, so why not enjoy it? What's the rush?
Why not enjoy it, and why not help others get to a place faster than you got to, right? Because you've learned all of these things, man. Share that experience with others so they don't stumble over the same things. I truly believe everything happens for a reason. We go through all of these trials and tribulations sometimes for a reason, and sometimes, and it's happened to me, man. Jeremy, you're probably going to say, oh, that's happened to me. I've gone through things a couple times, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep going through this unless I figure it out.
That's right.
And then you gain clarity.
Bro, I have Groundhog Day all the time. Are you kidding me? Come on. Yeah. How about going to the same fire over and over and still getting your ass kicked in the same spot because you just haven't figured it out yet? And then all of a sudden, your third or fourth, fifth fire, you go, oh, that worked better. I got it. Right?
Remember we talked about flow path?
That's right.
We talked about some of those things. I'll tell you, I'm going to go back to the team thing. You know, and I touched a little bit on it, labor management. We go through, there's some places that have really strong adverse issues with labor management. I'll tell you, we all need to understand, man, we came from the same team. We all started in the academy. We all learned the basics of firefighting. We all learned how to work together on a truck and in a station, right? Firefighters live in a submarine. We live in a bubble, man. We go from one bubble in the station to another bubble on the fire truck. And the most successful organizations are the ones that come to the table with the labor side of things, and management realizes they were labor.
Yes.
And we all are labor,
yes.
We're all labor. We just have different roles and responsibilities as we promote in the career. But there should be no light between labor and management, man. To form the true team, you've got to form the true team. And you got to consider it a team. Because I'll tell you, when something comes up as far as equipment, my people are going, hey, can we buy this? Hey, man, don't ask me. Pick a couple things, try it out. I'm not using the tool you are. We have to realize that. I don't know what's best for them right now.
Right.
The environment's changed since I was on a truck. And so they have to tell me what their tools are they need.
But creating an environment like that, though, takes managers, leaders, administration, command staff, whatever the position or title is. They have to be comfortable in their own skills and abilities to be able to endorse someone else. And that's the problem, is I think what we're finding in the fire service, you mentioned leadership, and I want to go down that road with you in a few minutes, but we talk about leadership, and people are starving for leadership in the fire service, or maybe we're having too much lack thereof. And so what that problem, we need to talk about that further. But any terrible leader or poor leader is never going to endorse their people. They're never going to say yes when no is easier, because no can control the situation. You're never going to tell somebody, yes, tell me what you want to do. Tell me the equipment you need, because that's going to make you look weak. You feel threatened if you're a poor leader. If you don't have your own skills and abilities, or you're not confident in them, you'll never, ever promote your people. A good leader wants their people to succeed them. They want their good people to move on and move past them. That's what a good leader wants.
Good leaders take away roadblocks and they clear debris so the others can pass through and be successful. Sometimes it's difficult to get to yes, because sometimes yes is work. Yes is work,
always work.
Right? No is easy. Nope, done, on to the next thing. No, man, the yes is maybe hard to get to, but I told my kids this one time, Valliers don't do easy, because the easy path in life is not always the right path. Don't be afraid to work hard. Don't be afraid to challenge yourself to do better and create a better environment for the people around you. Because when others around you are successful, guess what? We're all successful.
100%. Easy is fast, hard is slow. I'm going to go easy because it's fast and I get there and I get an immediate answer and I can see immediate this and immediate that. That's the world we live in today. The fire service traditionally is not built on immediate. It takes a while. We can implement change and make change happen tomorrow if we want to. Will it stick? Probably not, because we haven't put the work in to allow for change.
Will it be the right change?
That's correct. Right. Absolutely. When done correctly, change matters. Change takes hold. When you do it quickly, you try to circumvent the system, you shove it down people's throat, you're making change for the sake of change, it doesn't stick. You have to change the culture.
Correct, man.
Yeah.
And that's not a really quick thing to do. In any size organization.
No, never.
Oh
never. There's nothing in the fire service happens quickly and it sticks and it's good, right? All the good stuff takes time. It takes commitment. It takes a sense of passion. And then we have to package that up in salesmanship so that we can get the buy-in so that we can move forward with the change. It's a process.
It's a process, man.
Don't rush the process, Chief.
And maybe, some of the leaders in place haven't figured that out. And maybe they're still
100%.
learning. Right?
100%. But that's okay. I love this one story, right? Chief Stone out of the panhandle of Florida. I was doing a roundtable with him and a couple other guys down in Texas. This kid stands up, big belt buckle, big cowboy hat on. He says, I've been a fireman for a couple of years. Our department's growing so fast. Our ESDs down here, we're putting 2-3 on a year. We're moving people around. We're hiring. We can't hire fast enough. We can't promote fast enough. They want me to become a lieutenant down at this new station. I've only got 2 years on. I don't think I belong in that position. And Chief Stone looked at him and said, well, give me a little background. The kid gives us background about himself. He gives us a little background about the department. And he says, okay, great. He goes, if not you, then who? He goes, you're here learning outside of your department. You're here on a weekend, probably paid for it yourself. You're out of pocket to come here for this conference. You've come here to surround yourself with people that care. You care about your job. You had the courage to stand up in front of this group and ask that question. He goes, if not you, then who? So the answer is this. The fire service has to promote people that might not be qualified or ready for these positions. It's just life. It wasn't this kid's opportunity. If he could do 10 years and become a lieutenant, he probably would have. But the situation requires him to step up. He might not have or does not have the experience or all the answers, but he's going to I'd rather him than some slug. You know what I'm saying, Chief?
Man, I'm telling you, when I promote engineer, did I know everything? No. When I promoted captain, did I know everything? No.
Right.
When I BC deputy assistant, we got to be vulnerable and say, man, I don't know that. Help me with that. Right?
Yes.
Leadership, true leadership is really in working in a team environment is say, man, I don't know. You got to help me with that. And that's the whole benefit of putting not so much like-minded people around you, but people with different skill sets, right? Diversity? What?
See, do you listen? Have you listened to my whole program? I mean, this is like my Bridging the Gap program is all exactly what you're talking about. We always talk about like-minded people. I want to surround myself with like-minded people. That's great. But just remember, when you surround yourself with like-minded people, it becomes an echo chamber. And now all you hear is the cheering and you don't hear any of the booing. You need to keep people in your life that will keep you honest, the checks and balances. So surround yourself with like-minded people. Just have a couple haters in there too, because they'll keep you grounded. You need it, right?
100%. And that's not even for the job, man. That's in relationships outside the job. That's in marriages and
life,
all of those things, right? You got to be vulnerable in all relationships. And well, hey, listen, some people don't even understand the importance of a relationship. Right? I'll tell you, relationships are so beneficial to me. I just love people, so I love, like, I first time I met you, man, I'm like, oh, spot on. I love this dude.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was great. So, we've got to be vulnerable. We've got to care about each other, truly care about each other, and we got to do the right things for the right reasons. And we can't tell people, hey, man, you only got a couple years on. You're not ready for that. No, man. Why are we injecting some weakness into people when all we should be doing is going, hey, man, you want to do that? Let me help you get there.
Yes.
Right? The fire service is going through a huge transition right now, man. And I'll tell you, if I was getting on a job right now, I would so much appreciate it, because when I got on the job in 91, it was recession, not hiring. There's opportunities in the fire service, but with opportunity creates some pain with attrition. Yeah. Meaning we got to fill some of the ranked positions. We got to fill not even ranked position, but informal leaders, man. They play a part as well, and people have to step up.
I'm just shaking my head because I love listening to this, because you're 100% right. Like, I feel like I'm sitting back at a conference right now and somebody else is teaching, and I'm just like listening in the back, and I'm agreeing with you 100%. I want to challenge you on this a little bit. In the position you're in today, assistant chief, correct?
Correct.
So there are going to be times that you could potentially feel challenged because you want to be able to give or do more, but you can't. And I think that for true leaders and managers that understand what it takes to truly lead your people and to create an environment of empowerment and create an environment of success, sometimes when we have to say no, or we know we should be doing better, but we're falling down, that can be, for a gentleman like yourself, and I know how I take it, it becomes personal, and then it becomes, I'm in the middle and I can't affect the change that I want to be changing right now. That's got to be hard for you.
Well, I will tell you, it absolutely is hard when you want to do more and you don't have the funding to do more.
Yes,
right? You don't have the personnel to do more.
Mm-hmm.
It is a challenge, but the leaders that don't share information are the ones that have a work group that are going, all you say is no. I don't even understand why you can't do this. Instead of putting your arm around them and going, hey man, let me talk to you about city level budgeting.
Yeah.
There's only so much money in the pot. We've prioritized this. We've come to an agreement that we're going to spend money here versus over here.
Right.
And there's only so much money to go around. So yeah, we'll start planning ahead on all those things and talk about how those requests play out, because I don't get to divvy out the money in the city. The city manager and the treasurer and ultimately the council do. And so for me to say no and not say anything, then they have no understanding. And you know what? At the same time you're educating them and mentoring them to take on the next position, because they're gaining knowledge and experience and understanding. And when they come to the table with the next idea, they're coming to the table with solutions rather than I need this and wants and needs, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about your own personal growth in the fire service, everything today is immediate. We want everything immediately because that's all we know. Amazon ships same day. I don't even have to wait till tomorrow. I'll get everything today when I order from Amazon where I live, right? And so, like, everything's immediate. And so when we want something or need something, especially our younger firefighters, they don't understand patience. They don't understand that things take some time, and we need to value that time so that we can do it correctly. And I think patience is certainly lacking within the fire service, especially when it comes to policy and change and administrations and strategy, tactics, all those things. It takes time.
It takes time, and you know, I'll give you an example. So when you know, in the fire service, he used to be, and I'm just going to give you my experience from this area. You know, we're in an auto aid system. We've got, you know, we either dispatch through Phoenix or Mesa. There's about 35 different departments and districts that we all auto aid. It is a regional training academy to get in. So we're like one big fire department. We all train together. We all work together. We create a operational guideline, volume 2, that we all adhere to. And so it doesn't matter what city you're in, you're all operating like one big fire department. And I will tell you, that it used to be, if you had too many calls to overcome the one truck being there, you look for another truck. You look for another. In our system, it's a 4-person staffing, right? I need another engine company. I need 4 firefighters. Now we have data to look at and say, hey, wait a second. The call types don't necessarily need 4 people going. So maybe we should start with a low acuity unit, 2 people, cost less, but we're still making a move. Instead of waiting and going, okay, I got to buy a fire truck now, which is like $1 million something, and then hiring all of the staff to manage that, we could slow roll into that and build that slowly instead of waiting and killing our crews up until we finally get the funding for that. There's paths of opportunity that we need to look at and be creative in our process. And I truly think things happen for a reason. Just like when people are going to promote, I go, listen, man, let me take a little stress off you. You still have the best job in the world, no matter what comes out of that interview you have.
Yeah.
And you still have the best job in the world. And I'm all about timing. Things happen. I didn't get promoted every time the first time I took a test.
Sure.
First time I tested, there's not that many that have. And so you have to understand and learn from those experiences, but you have to be real with people and help them to understand that. And the instant gratification system, that doesn't work, man. That doesn't work. This is why the stock market is so volatile. It used to be in the old days, you take the newspaper and like, oh, hey, AT&T went up or down.
Yep,
hey,
long play.
Now it's like, oh, buy, oh, sell. And
Day
it's
trading.
moving. That's such the things that didn't used to affect the market are affecting the market now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that goes with everything. That goes with the fire service. Society has changed the way we do business sometimes. Society has changed the firefighter that's coming into our system.
100%. There's so much, such a relationship between the two, and we're seeing it. And the way society is today is the way the fire service is becoming. We certainly shadow the everyday because it's who we're serving and it's who it's made up of. So the one thing you said that struck me, and I love it, is that in the fire service, though, regardless of the position you're in, we all started from the same place. We went through Probary School. We went to the academy. We've got our first assignment, our first company, went to our first fire. And so now you're in the system. And it's wherever you go with that. But the one thing we all share is that we are all firefighters. And I love talking with chiefs. And when you get up into those higher ranks of departments, and, you know, Scottsdale's not a small department, correct? Chief, how many line personnel do you have?
We've got over 300, almost 350.
So it's a decent-sized job, and you've been able to work your way up into the system. The one thing is, though, is when you go back out on the road or when you're making decisions, you can't lose sight of the fact that you're still a fireman.
Correct.
And I love that. We just have to sometimes remind guys that, hey, Chief, you could pick that line up instead of tripping over it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It goes a long way. Goes a long way.
Hey, you know, I tell people that come in and they go, hey, I'm applying for the next position, and can you talk to me a little bit? I'm like, yeah, man, anytime. Let's have a cup of coffee and let's chat, because I'd love to share experiences with you, right?
Yes.
But, you know, I always tell people, yeah, I'm an assistant chief now, and I've had some promotions, but I've never promoted for the position. I've never promoted for the respect at a rank, because I truly believe we should all respect each other at a humanistic level. And it's not, hey, you know, I have more control. It's none of that, man. The only reason I've ever promoted is because I felt like I could do a good job in it. And I felt like I had more to give, and I could have a farther reach. That's why I've done it.
Yeah.
I want to, you know, we're always going to be influenced, right? And in the fire service, when you first get on, man, you are 100% getting influenced, right? You are not the influencer. When you mature in your career, I don't care if you're in a rank position or you're the informal leader of the organization. as we grow and as we earn credibility and respect, you become an influencer.
Yes.
I want to be an influencer. I want to make an impact in this life. I want to make an impact in this service. And if we don't push hard and we don't, I shared this on another podcast, but I'm going to share it with you. My mom gave me this, God rest her soul. She's a little Italian woman born in Italy. And this says, success is knowing your purpose in life. Purpose in life. And I literally look at this little tea candle holder and I every day and I go, okay, I'm still on track. I'm still on track. Because it's not about my mission, it's about the fire service mission, and it's about the mission of helping the other person, either in a fire truck or in the community. And we've got to continue to stay focused on that. And if we don't, our survival, and I talk about survival meaning money lines, equipment, all of those things, is going to dwindle away.
Yes.
It's going to dwindle away because you're going to lose support. When you lose support, people care about something else.
Well, look at your volunteer fire service today. Right? I mean, I'm a product of it. I'm 30 years in the volunteer fire service. I love the volunteer fire service. You know what's dying? The volunteer fire service. You know what's being done about it? Nothing. And this is like what I'm finding is something that I need to really start getting behind is all the travel I do and all the teaching I'm doing with my course. I'm doing primarily departments that are seeking and looking for answers. And there's no playbook for them right now. Nobody has put together a playbook. There's no blueprint. There's no mapping. What we need to do is do a better job in supporting our own. And we are changing, and things are dwindling, and we have problems. But it's also the greatest institution in the world, and we should be fighting to protect it and finding ways to support one another and lifting one another up so that we can beat the odds. Because if we don't, it's gone.
Well,
it's going to be gone.
I'll tell you, I've been raised in a career environment. The Valley doesn't have a lot of volunteer departments. And until I got in the FDSOA, Fire Department Safety Officers Association, and I had more outreach, I never realized anything about the volunteer fire service. And you guys are amazing. Like, you're amazing. And I think it was Churchill that said, hey, volunteers are twice as citizen as anybody else. And it's true, man. It's true. You guys go to bed, you work a full-time job, you go to bed, the alarm goes off, you get up out of your bed and you go respond, man. And it then never turns off for you. And
go ahead.
But some people don't want that kind of pressure.
Oh,
they
right.
don't want
100%.
that. And that's, but so how well are we marketing ourselves now? And you hit it a little bit at the beginning. I'm a big proponent of how do we reduce cancer risk? How do we reduce cardiac issues? Behavioral health. Now I was just having this conversation with somebody. I'm like, okay, so if I get in the fire service, I'm probably going to get cancer. I'm going to have cardiac disease 10 or 15 years before the general population. And I may, at some point, not want to be around. Right? That's not good marketing. So we've got to overcome what that looks like. And you volunteer fire departments are community based, and I don't know what your community does to reinforce that and build that team, because you guys have such a camaraderie. I mean, way beyond the career. Because you live and breathe it every day.
I honestly think, to be perfectly honest with you, I think that there's a lot of similarities between the two. I always talk about the job, and I just talk about the job. And the job is firefighting, because fire will kill you, it will maim you, it will destroy lives, and that's everything from the actual fire down to all the secondary things that can happen within the fire service, right? So I don't draw distinctions between the two. And I also think that when you're all in, you're all in, and it doesn't matter if you're getting a paycheck or not. But the thing is this: it becomes who you are. Like, the fire service consumes you. When you allow the fire service to come in and you give yourself to it, it consumes you to the point that it becomes your lifestyle in a way. At least in the Northeast, this is very common, where you look at who your friends are, who you run with, who your wife talks to, who your kids hang out with, what you do on the weekends, what you're doing, what you're looking at on social media, who you're talking to, what podcasts you listen to, what movies. All of that stuff, a lot of it can always come back right to the firehouse. It's a lifestyle, right? Yeah. And what the reward is, there's the downside that you talked about, but that's part of it. and yet we still give ourselves to it because we value it and we know what it does for us. Like the return I get is 100-fold compared to what I give. And I give a lot to it, but I get so much more, man. I really do.
Dude, I'll tell you, I have these conversations with Kristen on the weekends because I'll be working on something. She's like, is that your paid job or your, FDSOA and all the other stuff? And
Right. Yeah. What hat you wearing now?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's a good mission, right? That's what I tell her. It's a good mission because I can't let it go. You talk about consuming. It does, man, and it's in a good way.
But it fuels you to be better. That's it. It does for me.
I need it, man. Pretty easy concept, but you're blessed by that. You've seen that. You've opened yourself up to it.
Sure.
Right? Some people don't open themselves up for that opportunity and understand.
100%.
Some people just show up at work and then it's all about the second job.
Well, but it's also maybe because we haven't created that culture that they've bought into. Maybe we need to take some ownership as the department or a company that we need to do better by our people. I always say this. We want our people to be all in. When you join the fire service, we're going to give you everything you need to be successful. We need you to be all in on us and the people that you serve. We expect you to give your life if necessary. But I can't do this for you. And so we need everything from our people. As a fire department, we require our firefighters to go all in on the fire service. And yet our administrations and command staffs are letting our people down every single day. There is a massive disconnect that's happening. Career, volunteer, paid on call, wildland, industrial, doesn't matter. There is a disconnect happening that in the fire service, we require so much from the candidate and so much from our firefighters, but when we need something back, it's very hard to get. That's tough.
Do you think that's a management versus leadership thing where they're too hyper focused on one thing? I will tell you, I love being on a fire truck because, man, the instant gratification I got when I helped Mr. and Mrs. Smith, man, was fantastic.
Absolutely.
You go do it again. Now I don't get that every day. So my fulfillment is helping all of our crews be able to deliver great service.
Sure. Your mission has changed. Your focus changes.
100% changed, right?
Yeah.
And that was my desire to be able to do things at a different level. But when we do our accident injury evaluations, and we do them every month, and we go, okay, accident injury, whatever, and it's a labor management process, and we go preventable, non-preventable, and they have to agree, right? But I take it one step further, and I go preventable on the firefighter and or preventable on the organization, because as an organization, we have to own it. Do we have a procedure for it? Did we train on it? Do we have the right equipment for them to succeed? What is it that we can come together and say, hey man, if we do this, that's not going to happen again, or the risk of it happening again is going to be lower.
And can you imagine what that does? When you look at something like that and you will take ownership of it as the organization and say, hey, Joe, we let you down on this. Our bad. We're going to make better on this. You know how many organizations won't do that? Most. And that's the thing. And it's just a disconnect. And I think that we have to be realistic when we talk about wanting so much from our members and the love for the fire service and this and that. There are people that fall out of love with it because they have been wronged. There are people that don't go all in on it because we haven't invited them to go all in on it, because we haven't created a culture that wants them to go all in on it. So I think, though, ultimately the fire service is incredible. And I think the fire service is bigger and stronger and better than it's ever been. It has changed, but the fire service is changing always. And if we don't, we're status quo, we're standing still.
And
but it's still good, bro.
We know with how things are moving, how fast things are moving.
So good, though.
So, I had a friend that took a position in a different fire department, and they said they would commit to 5 years. I'll commit to 5 years here. About a year into it, they're super unhappy, and they're considering leaving. And I'm having a conversation with the person, and I go, okay, so why are you so concerned about leaving? Well, I made a commitment. I go, okay. They made a commitment to you as well, right? So have they followed through in their commitment? Right. And 100%, they said no. I go, so That's a two-way deal.
Yes.
We got to look at these as relationships and two-way deals. And we're forgetting, hey, I hired you, I give you a paycheck. That's not the case, man. It's not the case. And I'll tell you, the mission for me with reducing some of the risk of cancers and all those things is go do your job. We're going to try to make it as clean of an environment. We're never going to get, it's a hazardous job, man. We all know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how do we reduce the risk for you so you can enjoy your career and feel supported, feel the love that we're trying to take care of you along the way?
No, I think that's super important, right? And let's go down this road. So the FDSOA, Fire Department Safety Officer Association, right? This is how we met. So a month back or so, we took a call. One of the guys, Terry, I believe it was, right? Facilitated the conversation between us. I think you're the chair for this organization. Okay.
I am.
So we took a three-way Zoom call, if you will, and we started chatting about the upcoming conference in January and, just different things and so on. And we ended up having a spirited conversation. I certainly didn't hold back in my opinions, and that's just who I am. But I challenged you a little bit. But what I really enjoyed and why you're on the show today is because of everything you just said for the last 41 minutes in this podcast, is that I believe you to be a person that really does put the very best forward for the fire service. And when we talk about safety today, this safety culture, quote unquote, it has gotten a dirty name. Like, there is a tremendous pushback against, quote unquote, the safety culture. But I think it's because there's a miss in it. There is a disconnect. There's a lack of understanding. And so give me a little background about the Safety Officers Association, and then what that all looks like. And then I want to go down this road a little bit with you, and so on.
Well, and I love it because as soon as you and I started going into it, man, and having just a heated conversation, awesome, you and I laughing and talking
it was fun.
about it. Man, I love it. And you're like, I got to get you on this. And I'm like, I want to be on it. I want to have a conversation with you. And you're coming to speak as a keynote at our
excited.
Conference. It's going to be awesome, man. And I think when we talked about this, I said, the safety's like the dirty word in the fire service right now. To some, not to all. Right. There's a group that feel that way. And so it's about perspective. It's about perspective. Why do you feel like safety is such an issue? Because I will tell you, we teach incident safety officers and we teach health and safety officer certifications. That really is the skill sets on the street and the skill sets to manage programs in an organization. And we have a lot of things in between. We do EVT, emergency vehicle technician training, because I was an engineer and I feel it's important to get the firefighters to and from the call safely on a safe truck. It's the process in which we do our job. But all of this stuff started coming out, and I go, okay. When we go teach a class, and I travel to teach, and I love it because I meet some amazing people, half the class is sitting there going, I'm excited to be here. The other half of the class was, I was told to be here.
Right.
Right? And they're like, I don't want to hear this, man, because you're going to tell us we can't do what we need to do. And I'm like, I'm absolutely not going to tell you that. You will never hear that come out of my mouth. Never. And I understand the risk. And I'll tell you, I wrote this after we had talked and had some conversation. I put this statement on the website and read it to you. FDSOA is not a risk-averse organization. We believe in balanced risk versus benefit approach to all incidents. We are all about saving civilian lives and firefighter lives. And then I created a risk management plan, a model that people can use. I'm the first one to tell you, man, I got on this job. I will risk my life to save a savable life. And we teach you how to look at those things, look at the incident. And I'll leave the first one because this is the highest risk level, because risk, let me make it easy for you. Risk is our firefighters. We bring risk to the incident, right? It's injury or death to your firefighters. So, green is we will risk our lives in an educated and calculated manner to save savable lives. Educated, know your craft, be sharp in your craft. Calculated, let's look at what we're getting for factors on that incident and to make good decisions where we're going and how we're going to save these people. Why would you go in a building if you know there's no savable lives, right? If there's no environments that somebody can survive in, survivable space, then we've got to re-engage and go, okay, we had no control over what the loss was, But I will tell you, man, I love aggressive firefighters. I loved having them on my truck. You got to be a super strong leader in managing that, because they're going to go through walls for you, but you got to tell them not that wall, this wall, right? So, you know, I'm a firm believer that put the fire out, that all the issues go away.
Yeah.
So, you know, you don't sit around looking at this thing. Go do something.
I think go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to let you finish your thought. I just, for me, I think what happens is everything you're saying makes complete sense. And we can talk about the nuances of what's savorable, survivable, like all those things. But I also think that when we organize it like that, it becomes a corporate approach, if you will. And just bear with me on my thinking, and then I
love your
so it's more polished and corporate in the approach, so that for the backstep firemen, when they read that, they go, "Come on." But when you put it to rubber hitting the road, boots on the ground, it is exactly what we do on the fire ground. We search what can be searched. We push if we need to push. And so take what you know on the street and find the commonality with the more corporate packaging of a hazard assessment plan, or a what did you call it? What is this that you
risk management
risk
plan.
management, right? Risk management plans have to be polished and have charts and graphs and arrows and fancy terminology, but it does relate directly to the street. Don't be so closed-minded that because it's written on a PDF and it's coming to you that way from an organization that has safety in the title, it doesn't mean that you can't do your job. It doesn't mean they don't support you in your job. It just means that we need to formalize an approach. It's the same thing with like the NFPA. Abolish the NFPA? Sure, if that's your platform you want to stand on, great. But the NFPA actually has done some good, too.
Absolutely.
So we have to be careful in the broad stroke of things. And when it comes to this safety culture, I think it's a cool thing to say, screw that. And there's this idea that the safety culture is threatening our way of firefighting. And I don't even talk like, I don't even like the term aggressive firefighting. I think all firefighting is aggressive. I think if you're doing the job correctly, you push boundaries. You push in. You make sure that you can do your job to the very best of your abilities, to your skill set and your knowledge and experience allows you. So let's not vilify terminology or PDFs. Let's have real conversation that we're talking about survivable space in the fire service today. There's nothing that you just said that violates anything that says we don't search or we don't go in or we don't fight fire from the inside out. Of course we do. We do all that. Your organization, Chief, doesn't limit us from doing that. You're not telling us not to go do that. You're just telling us you better be smart about it. You better know what your approach is. You better understand that there's times that you're going to lose and get kicked in the teeth. That's reality.
And that's life, man.
Oh, 100%.
We've all been
I agree, but I get frustrated with this because when we met and there was some back and forth, and I think what happens is, I think it's the delivery of your message from people that lose sight of what we do. We have a lot of leaders today. We talked about it earlier in this podcast. We have a lot of leaders, a lot of people that are sitting in the front right seat. We have a lot of people in chief's cars and sitting in administrative offices that have lost touch about what it's like to be a fireman, what it's like to be involved in firemanship. And all of a sudden they're spitting policy. They're making longer radio commands. They're doing this. They're doing that. We're making the job too difficult and fancy when it really is simple. And I think that's a big part of the disconnect.
You're absolutely right, man. But the only way to make this canned process work, and you call it a canned process, right? A PDF process, is we teach it to our firefighters in the Recruit Academy. We explain to them what the green, the yellow, and the red is on our plan, right? It's either go, when you've cleared the building and now you're dealing with structure only, then you're going to risk our lives a little bit for that structure, depending on what's going to be left of that structure, right? And then we're not going to risk our lives for that which is already lost. We're not doing that. So we teach it at the lowest level, and we teach it all the way through the process in their career. So when the battalion chief or the command officer is making a tactical decision and requesting a resource to go do something at the task level, that crew understands what they're getting into. They understand the mindset and thought process of it. And safety officers are the ones that bridge that sometimes, because I will tell you, I'll be the first one to admit, I used to try to talk the IC out of going defensive all the time. Hey boss, we got this, 2 more minutes, right? 2 more minutes.
Right.
I didn't have it because I didn't know the backside of the building was burning off. Fair? And they're like, hey, come here, let me show you what I saw. Okay, I get that.
100%.
But sometimes we need the bridge of the safety officer is to say, hey, keep kicking butt, man. I'm going to go share critical information with the IC. We're going to get on the same page, which means we can push harder, because the incident command system is only as good as the eyes and ears on the fire ground. Fair? Good information gets to the command officer to make the right decision. And so we have to get that good information moved back and forth to make sure we're putting our people in a position where they can survive. And I will tell you, line of duty deaths will never be zero. I hate to say that.
Right.
They will never be zero, because
right.
we are in it, and we take risk all the time. We're in a hazardous environment. Our job is super scary sometimes, right? We put ourselves in positions no one else is willing to put themselves in. And if you're doing it for the right reasons and you're following the plan and you did it and something bad happens, then we tried to do the best job we could. Fair?
Yeah, you said something that resonates with me, because it reinforces my next point that I wanted to make on the disconnect between safety culture and boots on the ground, right? You said it's only as good as you said something to the effect of it's only as good as your command staff making those decisions, right? Your safety officer, right? And so on.
The command system. The command system. Everybody on the fire ground.
Yeah.
Right?
So
we use incident command, so everybody has to be on the same page, sharing the right information.
So if we have weak links within the system, we will always err on the side of caution, on safety. That's just inherent. No, a weak leader, a weak company officer is not going to push like a confident company officer will. Okay? That's just reality. We're not going to, you might make, if you're weak or you lack the experience or knowledge, or you've never been in conditions like that, belly down a hallway, you might not make the next room, but a seasoned career veteran might be able to make that room, right? And might be able to affect the positive outcome, right? So when we don't have strong experience or leadership or making those tactical decisions, it's easy to point the finger at safety instead of taking your own blame. And so this can, again, color the safety culture and disconnect between hard-hitting firemen. And so that's the real talk. Like, that's why I wanted to have you on today, because I want to bridge that gap. That I think what you in the organization, what you guys are doing is very good. I think the mission is solid. I think going through and looking at supporting the 16 life safety initiatives that are out there, right? I see it on the on everybodygoeshome.com, right? On the NFFF page, right? And so on. Those initiatives are super important. I think they bring tremendous value to the backstep firefighter and everybody throughout the process. The pushback is coming because of the disconnect. And I just, that's why I wanted to have you on today and talk about this, because we can relate. I can find the corporate PDF style, those risk hazard and risk assessments, and we can put that to where we want aggressive, quote unquote, firefighting, where we want to do the job and where our people want to do the job, right? That's important. So I get it, man. I totally get it.
Well, man, I'll tell you, I appreciate the conversation, because, it falls back to a leadership conversation in some of these incidences, right? And a lot of things can be fixed in the fire service with good leadership. A lot of things.
Yes.
People getting along, cultures.
Yes.
Diversity.
Yes.
All of these things can be fixed or in some cases repaired with good leadership working together once again as a team to make it happen. And when you go on the fire, man, we all better be training the same way. We better be talking the same lingo and terminology when we're sharing information. And if you're not getting the right information, you got to ask the right questions. And that's with everyday business. If I'm not getting the answer I want, I probably should ask the question differently to make sure I'm understanding what they're giving me for information.
100%. 100%. I love it. I absolutely love it. So looking forward to the conference. The conference is coming up in January. If people are interested, where do they find it? How do they find out more information about the organization?
www.fdsoa.org. Our registration's set up. I feel confident that St. Pete Beach is going to rebuild itself from the disasters that have happened. You know, they I hate to say it, but they've done this before because that area does get pelted. We've got 3 months, man. We're still getting registrations. People still believe in it. And I will tell you what's great about our conference is we're bringing our apparatus side and safety side into the conference. So it's going to be a bigger conference. And we've put together a group of associations that have the same mindset, man. Science to the station. They're bringing the data, saying here's how you should be more effective on your scene. Here's how you should protect yourself better from cancers and cardiac disease and all those things. So Science Alliance, Fiero from the equipment side, Fallen Firefighters, FRCE, Frank Lieb's going to be there. We'll all have a partake in a beverage together. I'm trying to form a community so people understand and they can take what we talked about today out to their organization and go, hey man, we can try to be as safe as possible on the incident, knowing that people may still get hurt, man. We're in a dangerous business. But we've got to be smart. We've got to be all on the same page, and we've got to make sure we're caring for each other enough to do this. Yes.
And the job is so big that it's not just structural firefighting. I mean, we're talking cancer, seatbelts, highway safety, health and mental health. Like this job is so big, and you guys take on such a mission that let's not just get caught up with, they don't let us be aggressive firing. That has nothing to do with it. That really does not. And I love it. I think what you guys are. Go ahead.
No, dude, I appreciate the kind words, man, because I truly mean it. And I'll go back to what I do on in my own path here. I work out every day. Because I can't tell my people they need to work out and stay healthy if I'm not doing it.
I get it.
Fair? Be the example, and we should be the example. And if we don't understand something, get better information, man. Give me a call. I'm happy to talk about it anytime with you. Have us out. We'd love to come see you and visit with your organization. What you're doing, Jeremy, you're doing great work, man. You're great. You're getting a great message out there, dude. Any opportunity you and I get a chance to work together, I'm all in. So bro, please don't, think of me.
What a great bro. I just called you bro. You're a chief. You're an assistant chief of a large metropolitan department. I just called you bro. Listen, chief, thank you. I'll be honest. Thank you.
Did you call me cheap? Did you call me cheap?
No, I don't know you well enough to call you cheap, but I'll let you know after January how cheap you are when I'm paying for the bar bill or something, right? I get it. You watch. But no, brother, I will tell you this. Thank you. Great conversation. Super great conversation today. I think you and I share a lot of commonality in our approach and a lot of different things and how we think. You and I had that call about a month ago to talk about your upcoming conference, and we did hit it off. And I at the time, too, as much as I talk and I lead in the fire service, I'm also listening. And I'm listening to all the rumblings about safety culture, and I'm listening about the bad rap that a term like that is getting. And we need to have real conversation around it. Let's not just form opinions or judgments based on, one or two little things. Let's have a real conversation. If you don't like safety culture, get involved, right? Get involved with the organization. Find out about who they are and what their actual mission is instead of thinking you know. That's the problem with today. We read headlines. We don't go all in. Go deeper than headlines. If you don't like something, get involved. You don't get involved, shut up. It's that simple.
And trust your sources.
100%.
You got to be able to trust your sources. Just because Joe said it doesn't mean it's right all the time, man.
Yes. Right. Eric, thank you, brother. I appreciate you very much, Chief, for joining me today. It was a fun conversation for sure.
You're awesome, dude, and thanks for all the stuff you do, because I know you're getting a great message out to people.
I appreciate that.
And I told you at the beginning of this deal, I want to try to help expand your reach, just like I know you're going to help us expand our reach, because we have a good mission, man. We have a solid mission that's super important.
I believe in it. I'm looking forward to speaking in January down in Florida. That's going to be a lot of fun. The Fire Department Safety Officers Association. Go to FDSOA.org for more information. Eric out of Scottsdale, thank you, brother. Thank you, Chief, for joining me today. I appreciate you. If anybody wants to reach out to you, where can they find you?
You can get me through the association. You can send the membership email, address, send whatever you need. I'm happy to share my personal cell phone with people to if they want to give me a call. You just let me know how you want to reach out to me, and I'm here for you, man. I'm
Awesome.
all about trying to make a difference in this service.
Good. Well, I appreciate you joining and taking an hour out of your day today to share some of your stories. So thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Stay right here. I'm going to sign off the podcast. I'll come right back to you, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Great.
Thank you.
Guys, thanks for tuning in for another episode of the National Fire Radio Podcast. Like I say at the end of every single episode, take this conversation, take it back to the firehouse and talk about it, because when we're talking about the job, we are making the job much, much better. I'll see you at the next one. Jeremy, National Fire Radio.
National Fire Radio.